friends, delegates, and fellow Americans, I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Donald Trump accepts his party's nomination for president and delivers one of the most important speeches of his life. A fiery message included his attacks on Democratic rival Hillary Clinton, as well as the political establishment. And he makes his case for change, lots of change, and promises to fix America's problems, casting himself, and this was a heavy emphasis, as the law and order candidate. And with that, the 2016 Republican National Convention comes to a close. Good evening, I'm Jerry Seib, and I'm joined here in Cleveland by Kristina Peterson, reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Aaron Zitner, political editor. Glad to have you both here. Wow, where to start, Aaron? We got two speeches there, really, and well over an hour. There was kind of the prepared teleprompter acceptance speech, and then by the end, the rally speech that some of us have heard before.
I'm exhausted, Jerry. That was a strong cup of coffee. He was forceful. He was boisterous. I thought he was also very effective in painting a kind of almost cinematic picture of America as he sees it. And it was a very dark picture. It was a picture where crime is up, illegal immigrants are released to be left to cause damage and hurt people in the streets of America, where we're cheated by our allies in NATO and we're cheated by our trading partners. But one man can fix this. A man who, in kind of a funny nod to his business controversies, says, I know the system is rigged, and I know the system is corrupt because I've been there, so I'm the guy who can fix it.
You know, Kristina, part of this was about campaigning against Hillary Clinton, but part of it was just campaigning against the state of affairs in America, and as Aaron suggests, against the kind of a system that everybody hates. And Hillary Clinton's part of that system, but it was much broader than just Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, he suggested that Bernie Sanders supporters might come over and vote for him. I think there were some tweets suggesting that might not be the case.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting contrast between the introduction he got from his daughter Ivanka and what he delivered over the next hour plus. She had a much more liberal-sounding platform that she was proposing, involving child care policies, equal pay for women, which is something Democrats have really emphasized. And we really didn't see any of that when Trump himself spoke.
Except that moment in which he said that he cheered his own Republican delegates for applauding him for saying good things about the lesbian, gay, transsexual community.
That's true, but even in that remark, he was saying we should protect the LGBTQ community from terrorism. So there was still this enveloping sense of protecting Americans from a scary outside world.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You may be exhausted, Aaron, but they're still celebrating on the floor, so they're not done yet. You know, the law and order theme here is a relatively new one for the Trump campaign. This was not a big part of the message earlier in the campaign. Trade certainly was. We heard a lot about that. The rigged system was part of it, but law and order is a relatively recent arrival on the menu of Donald Trump themes.
It is. We did hear on the first night from some parents of children who were murdered by illegal immigrants, and we met the family of a border agent who was killed on the border, but it wasn't the main point of emphasis. It is interesting, you know, when you plan a convention, a lot of times a candidate will plan it like a story arc, like a narrative, almost like you're storyboarding a movie, where if you watch the 4 nights, you get an accumulation of information about the governing agenda and information about the candidate. This, tonight, seemed like, for the 4th night of reinforcing a number of themes, it felt like they were picking a message and hitting it again and again, which was, first of all, Hillary bad, Donald Trump change, he represents change, fixing trade agreements, and now, as you say, the new added one is law and order.
And I'm the voice of the people. I've heard the people. Let's listen to a little part of that message from Donald Trump tonight.
The laid-off factory workers and the communities crushed by our horrible and unfair trade deals. These are the forgotten men and women of our country, and they are forgotten, but they're not going to be forgotten long. These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
So, Kristina, this is an appeal directly to blue-collar workers, traditional hard-hat, lunch-pail voters who have been Democratic voters for generations. And he goes to them by saying, trade deals are bad, they're hurting you, that's why you're losing your job, that's why your wages are suppressed.
I was really struck by how different that message is from what we're hearing from the more business-friendly wing of the Republican Party. The Chamber of Commerce was tweeting during his speech that they think that trade deals create more jobs, and that specifically the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which he is adamantly opposed to, would boost job creation. It's also a really sharp contrast from what we hear from House Speaker Paul Ryan and other congressional leaders. And they've said clearly, you know, we have endorsed Donald Trump, but we break with him on trade, on immigration, and those were two of his biggest themes tonight.
Yeah, you know, he did talk about the wall some, Aaron, and he said, I'll build the wall. But a lot of that immigration message was tinged with terrorism fears now, and that's also the latter stages of the campaign version of the anti-immigrant message.
That's right. The national security overlay. This convention really has reacted to the events of the last few weeks, which, you know, were unexpected and unforeseen, and the campaign reacted. We had the shootings in Dallas and the terrorism in Nice and Baton Rouge, and that put law and order, terrorism fears right at the front. They clearly think they're working for Donald Trump, and that he'll be seen as the guy who can do something about this.
Well, Aaron, Kristina, it's been a long week. It's over. A long speech, it's over. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Jerry.